Welcome to the Brett Rivera Show. This show will help you master your mindset and reach your next level of success. You'll hear insights and strategies on how to grow your mindset and how others have reached their next level. Never underestimate the power of perspective, because when you listen with presence, you can change your life. Let's go ahead and dive in.
I'd say 80 to 90% of mindset is everything, right? And when you're talking about the physical body, like your brain controls 100% of what's happening in your physical body, right? Mm-hmm. So I think the biggest thing I see is people come in and they've been given a diagnosis, right? Whatever it is, like Hashimoto's or Lyme disease or PCOS or some sort of diagnosis, and they identify with that. And I think, the difference in the way that I practice versus Western medicine is Western medicine will say, you have this disease, like let's take, thyroid disease. You're gonna have this for the rest of your life. You're gonna take a medicine. We might have to increase the medicine. And so they're told that over and over again. They read that online, and so they come into me being like, well, I know I'm gonna have this for the rest of my life. I'd like to maybe do some things naturally. And I'm like, well, but what if we had the possibility that your body could actually heal from that? And sometimes they look at me like I have 3 heads. And after a while, we kind of start to work together. I'm like, well, and I'll show them on their labs, well, hey, actually, look, these antibodies are going away. Like, you actually no longer have this Hashimoto's condition. And then their brain is like, whoa. But if their brain can, and I've seen it in patients, if the brain can switch that piece and not identify with the disease and identify with the fact that, their system was just out of balance, it was responding to whatever things, and if we remove the obstacles to cure, that they could actually get better, they get better so much faster, right? I have a conversation with everyone that comes in about mindset. You've been in my office, but you already knew about mindset, so I probably didn't have it with you. But, I tell them, and we talk a lot about the placebo effect, right? And I'm like, hey, listen, the placebo effect is real for everyone. Some people, it's actually genetically, they're more predisposed to the placebo effect, which is kind of cool. Blood type A, people are a little bit more. Anyways, but I tell them, hey, when you're doing anything for your health, you want to make sure you are bought in. Because if you're not bought in and you're kind of taking a medicine or even taking a supplement or even changing a diet and you're like, I don't know if this is going to do anything, that negative placebo effect is actually going to inhibit the effect of whatever you're doing. Wow. But if you're like, okay, I'm taking this supplement, this is doing XYZ for me, you're gonna actually amplify the effect just because of how powerful your brain is. They've done tons of research, right? Everyone's always like, oh, well, that's just placebo. And I'm like, well, what if it is? What's wrong with placebo? I actually had a patient the other day who was like, I love taking these supplements. She's like, I don't actually know if they're doing anything, but I think it might be placebo, but I don't care. I was like, high five, girl, that's great.
100%.
But again, if you're able to play into that, right, and you're able to be like, oh, this is what I'm doing and this is really helping me. And I also, when patients come in and they're like, well, I don't know, I'm not sure if I buy into this protocol, I'm like, then let's not do it. Because if you're not bought in, you're probably not going to get, you might get a little result, but you're not going to get the results that I would like to see. So let's find something that you are bought into. And that's kind of like the conversation we were having earlier, meeting people where they are, right? And I think sometimes that's what people get frustrated with in Western medicine is they go to the doctor, and a lot of women in particular, men too, but they'll come in and they'll be like, I know there's something wrong. I think it might be XYZ. And the doctor will be like, no, you're fine. You're just a crazy woman in perimenopause. There's nothing wrong with you.
What?
Oh, that happens all the time.
No.
Oh my God, absolutely. Especially for females aged 40 to 60.
Oh, that's messed up.
Yeah, because their conventional labs will look normal. Their CBC and their metabolic panel, if there's something seriously wrong with them, but that doesn't mean that there's not something physiologically going on in their system. And we all know when something's off in our bodies, right? I think even if you're not attuned, when there's something wrong, right? And the doctor doesn't live in your body, right? So I think a lot of times, certain docs, because they don't have time, they're going to look at the labs and they're going to tell people you're fine. And then people hear that and they're like, but I'm not fine. I don't know. So there's a lot of mixed messaging stuff, and that affects the brain too, right? And that, for a lot of women that I see, they'll be like, I've seen 5 doctors and they've all told me I'm fine. And then they start to think that they're crazy. And that's not a good mindset to be in, right?
Yeah.
Because it's not helpful. Anyways, I feel like I went on a long tangent.
No, that's great. And one of the pieces that you hit, which was like, oh my goodness, when we identify as something or with something, it creates such a strong attraction to that. And they have, which you probably already know this, but I was so intrigued by it. We have mirror neurons that we're constantly trying to create the external reality for what the mind thinks it is.
Yes.
And so it's like we see those connections. And so if we're identifying with something like, shit, I always have bad luck, literally we're going to find those situations.
Yeah. Well, that's the same thing too. I mean, I sometimes will talk, patients will come in and they'll sit down and they'll say, my body's broken. There's something wrong, and they kind of identify, maybe they don't have a diagnosis, but they'll be like, I'm so fat or I'm so tired all the time. And they're saying that to they're literally telling the brain. I actually went through this for a while. I feel like after my girls were little, I said I was tired, and I was legitimately tired. I just said, I had a toddler and a newborn, but I remember, like, at some point, someone actually reflected back to me. They're like, you say you're tired all the time. Maybe you should stop saying that. I was really pissed at the time because I was like, but I am tired. But then I was like, maybe I should actually stop identifying as being the tired So, I mean, and that's a tricky place to be in because you're like, I do feel this way,
Correct.
right? So it's like, I think it's okay to acknowledge that, but if you're constantly telling the brain and you're actually making that your identity, that's when it becomes even harder to get out of it.
What a weird thing, because we just hit both sides of that spectrum. Where
Yes.
one, we go in, we say we feel something, we're told that we don't feel it, so then it
Yes.
creates this dichotomy. And then two, we know we feel something, but we're trying to shift it,
Yeah.
and we're trying to acknowledge who we are, what we
Yeah.
experience,
Yeah.
but at the same time be able to go, but I would like to choose something differently.
Yes. Well, I think we were chatting earlier, about sometimes people know they are not happy with where they are, whether it's in life or with their health, but they know they want to be somewhere else, but they're not quite sure where that is. I mean, that's usually when people reach out for a change. I feel like that's when people call me or they call you. They're like, I'm not quite happy with where I am. And I think, part of my job is one on the physical aspect to find out like what's going on, why they're feeling that way, but two, to coach them to be like, well, let's figure out how do you want to feel, right? And sometimes when you've been feeling bad for so long, you might not even be able to imagine what it might feel like to feel good. And I have a couple of people like that who've been chronically ill for a long time, and they know they don't want to feel that way, but their brain cannot even see what it might be like to not wake up in pain, to not wake up with anxiety and depression. And so that's something we have to talk about. I'm like, well, hey, like, I need you to be able to at least imagine a little bit of that or remember back to what it was like when you didn't feel this way. And if the brain can't get there, it's going to be really hard for the body to get there, right? So that work has to be done, I mean, I know you know that.
100%. And sometimes when I do like the roadmap sessions, I'll sit with men and I'll be like, okay, it's 2 years from now. What does your life look like? And
Yeah.
you're like, Brett, that is such a hard question. Am I just focusing on what I do for my family? And no, that's a part of it, but
Yeah.
also, what is your lifestyle? What are you doing for yourself?
Yeah.
And 75% of them will be like, I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah. And that's okay, but that's why you and I exist, because we want to help. Yes. I mean, I usually like to have people like, well, let's like, what does it feel like?
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
what is the feeling? And if you can identify with that feeling, this is funny, I feel like I do this with both men and women who want to lose weight. And they're so focused on what their body looks like now and how they feel now, and they don't feel good. And they talk about, how the thing that they don't want, essentially, and they keep replaying that. And I'm like, okay, well, we have to start shifting. I need you to spend at least 10 minutes a day being like, I'm going to close my eyes, I'm going to wake up, and how do you want to feel in your body? Do you want to feel strong? Do you want to feel thin? Do you want to feel sexy? What is it?
Right.
What is and then you almost need to like practice feeling that.
Correct.
Because the more you can put your body in that state or your brain in that state, the easier the physical changes are going to come.
Yes.
Yeah.
And what's funny about that is like, when I have potential clients or clients who are like, I don't know how to get there, I think all of us, at least that I have run into, have gone to the beach. And everybody seems to feel better at the beach.
Oh my God, the beach is the best medicine in the world.
Like, that's what I'll do. I'll be like, no worries. Just close your eyes. I want you to imagine you're sitting on a beach.
Yeah.
Feel your feet in the sand. Hear the waves.
Yeah.
And that'll usually spark something in their mind where they'll be like, oh, wait, in 2 years, I'd like to
be on the beach. I'd like to be living on the beach with my family. It's funny, a few years ago, it was probably in like 2021, I was not in a great place. I was in the middle of a divorce. It was like tail end of the pandemic. I feel like externally my life looked pretty good. My business was thriving. I had great kids. I feel like anyone looking would be like, oh, she has a great life. But I felt terrible. I was anxious. I didn't feel good. I was crying all the time. And I started working with a coach. And I remember that one of the first sessions we were in, I was like ranting about how terrible my life felt and I was in a terrible relationship and all these things. And she was like, she stopped me and she's like, well, she asked me the question, well, how do you want to feel? And I honestly couldn't get there. I was like, I don't know. And she's like, well, let's just simplify it. Like, what do you do currently in life where you feel good? And I was like, well, right now, when I take a bath, I feel fantastic. I was like, and she's like, tell me about that. And so we did this whole session where literally I just described like, I love like the water supporting me and it just feels calm and it's warm and I feel supported by the water and I'm relaxed and all these things. And at the end of the thing, she's like, well, is that how you want to feel in life? And I was like, yeah, I kind of want to feel like I'm in a warm bath. Like I want to feel supported and floating and free and all these things. And I, about 2 years later, I remember calling her and being like, I think my life finally feels like I'm in a warm bath. Like, yeah, and it was a really cool, at that point I met my now husband, and I felt like I was happier all the time, and I felt like I was supported, and I didn't feel, that was the biggest thing I felt when I was in that kind of low point in my life, is I had no support. And not because it didn't exist, because I didn't think I needed it, right? I was like, I don't need support, I don't need help, I can do this on my own.
Right.
I'm raising 2 kids, I'm getting divorced, I'm running this business, but I needed support,
right.
And
I think we all do.
We all do,
right.
And I think that's one of the missing things that I see in a lot of patients that come into me, is they don't have support, right? And again, not because there's lack of support in their community, but it's because they don't know how to ask for help, right? And they don't think they need it, but we all need help.
I think so. I think community is so important for all of us, even especially when we don't think we need it.
Yeah, and support could look different for many people, right? It could be, working with a coach or a therapist, could be working with a doctor, it could be, you talk to your hairdresser. It's just somebody that, is there to listen and hold space for you. And when you don't have that, I see when people don't have that, the physical body is screaming at you.
Correct.
I get lots of people end up in my office and they have all these random symptoms, and really when we run their labs, there's not much there for me to look at. And I'm like, your body is asking for help. It's like, it's called you here, right? The body is always trying to tell us what it needs.
Correct.
And sometimes the body does need a different diet or a supplement or whatever, but sometimes the body is literally like, hey, I need some help. Could you please go get some help? I need somebody to take care of me.
Yeah.
And this is a play, I don't mean to be sexist, but I do see this more in women, because women do a lot of things for others, right? It's kind of in our nature to be like, I'm going to caretake, but oftentimes they caretake for everyone except for themselves. And men can do this as well. But I think making sure you care for yourself, that usually has to be done first.
I think so.
But it's so backwards in our society. It's like we think that's wrong.
Correct. It's very intriguing. I would tell patients, often clients, that being selfless, you have to be selfish.
Yes.
Right? And even the Dalai Lama, I love this, one of my favorite quotes. It's like, he says, I'm the most selfish person in the world. I'm like, there's this guy, there's no way. And he's like, I constantly know that if I give to others, I'm happy.
Yeah.
And so I know I need to take care of myself so that I can give to others, so that I can be happy.
Yeah.
And I find it that often we're constantly striving to create this external reality, get the things, and then failing to take any care of ourselves along the way.
Yeah, and then it's like, what's the point? You get the things, but you don't feel good.
Yeah.
That's why I feel like I had a lot of things that I had strived for. Like I built this business. I was rebuilding my life after my life fell apart, and I was really happy, in some sense, for the stuff that I'd gotten, but I didn't feel good about it. And it's like, what's the point if you have all this stuff if you don't enjoy it, and you don't, you're anxious and depressed and not sleeping and don't feel good? Like that's not the point. We want to feel good. That's why we want the things, right? We think that the thing is going to make us feel better.
It's a weird relationship.
It's a weird relationship. But and it's funny, I feel like when you feel good, the things come faster.
100%. Yeah, because I think that internal reality now gets reflected in the external world.
Yeah.
And the bubble bath thing is pretty cool, because I had a client that he's very visual, and I couldn't find the piece, right? I couldn't find the piece. And then eventually I was like, have you ever been boogie boarding?
Oh.
And he's like, Brett, I love boogie boarding. It's one of my favorite things. I was like, okay.
That's a great feeling. The feeling of being carried and supported, and you just zoom right on to the beach.
And he was in a transition where we saw everything he wanted was coming.
Yeah.
All the changes were there. But he was in a pause period, and he had to sit in that pause. I was like, great, how can we relate boogie boarding to where you are now? He's like,
you're waiting for the wave.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he's like, I am not standing on the beach. I am actually in the water.
Yeah.
I was standing on the beach,
great one.
acting as if I needed the waves.
Yeah.
But I wasn't doing anything about it. Now I'm in the water, and I know the wave is coming.
Yeah.
It was brilliant, and it just immediately.
And you're just in the pause. But that is kind of something that happens sometimes, right? Like
it's necessary.
It's necessary.
I think.
Yeah.
Right?
So I have a fun story to share. So I'm writing a book. My book comes out next year, but I really first got this idea about the book in 2023. I was like, I really want to write a book. And I met someone in LA, and she was like a writing coach, and I was like, oh, this is great. And she helped me shape the book proposal, and I was all in. You know, I wrote this proposal, and she was like, great, we're going to shop it around to agents. For about 4 months, I'm sending it to all these people, and all I got was no. It was like, no, your platform isn't big enough, no. And I really wanted to publish with a big publisher, and everyone was like, so this door shut in my face. So after about 4 months, I was like, you know what, I'm just going to table this. I don't like this rejection. Clearly now is not the time, if ever. So I literally tabled it. And at the time, like, this was kind of when I was pulling out of my not so great space. I had just met my now husband. We were like, you know, and I was really focused on my personal life. A year, flash forward like maybe 16 months. It's like a normal Wednesday morning, which is normally my chill, relaxed morning, and I get this email, and it's someone I had sent the proposal to a year ago, and they're like, hey, are you still looking for a home for this book? And I was like, well, yeah, actually. And the woman is like, do you have an agent? And I was like, well, no, I don't have one. And she's like, oh, here's a list of agents that we work with. Why don't you email them, and once you have one, get back with me. I was like, oh. And so I reached out to the agent, and one immediately was like, this is fantastic. I'd love to sign you. And anyways, within a week, I had a, 6-figure book deal.
That's so
and
good.
I was just like, wow. I had to pause and let it go. And what's so funny? This is my favorite part of this. When I started writing the book, I pulled out a journal that I had taken, like a journal entry that I found when I was working in the course that I took. And this woman had asked us to write a letter from our future book to ourselves. And the book was like, this book is going to flow out of you when you finally basically chill the fuck out. When you like are calm.
That's what the letter you wrote?
Oh yeah, that's what I told myself. You need to get calm, and once you're calm, all the stuff is in there, it's gonna flow out and it's gonna be easy. And I think at the time I was really thinking about how I was gonna write it, but this was really like, the book is gonna come to fruition when you've chilled out. And I had done that. I had like, my life had calmed down, and so I needed the pause. I needed to wait for the wave, and then it came.
That's so good.
I know, it's really great. I have to like use that story to remind myself when there's something else that I'm really wanting. I'm like, you know what? If it's not here yet, it just means it's not the right time. It's coming.
That's what's wild to me about being such a creative individual. Like, I know if I see something and want to create it, I can create it.
Yeah.
But I have found that I have to be very focused on what it is. I call it intentional. This came to me last week. Intention gap theory. So if I am not very, very aware of what my intention is and where it's focused, it can create gaps in how strong and powerful it flows.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. So how does that play out? How does that work when you're like...
So the problem is because I get so excited about so many things that I'll have so many different ideas. What I started to do is bounce things off of people. And so I would put them like through my own gambit of mental clarity. Okay, why do I want to do that? Why is that so important? Does that align with gratitude, compassion, and kindness? Does that align with service? Oh, it does. Okay, it marks the first checkbox.
Yeah.
And then I'll reach out to different people in my inner circle, like this fellow, and I'm like, hey man, what do you think about this? And I know if like 3 out of 4 of those people are like, bro, that is aligned, that's what you're about, let's see that happen, then I'll take some effort into it. But what I've seen, and it's been amazing, if I have an idea and I reach out to like 3 or 4 people, crickets, I'm like, oh, dang it, I really, really like this.
Interesting.
I gotta let it go for right now.
But I have a question about that. Could you do that process without reaching out to other people? Do you think you could do that within yourself?
So I have done that.
Yeah.
And every time I'm like, let's go.
Oh, every time.
Every time.
Are you an Aries too?
No, so I'm what's a Scorpio?
Oh, you're a Scorpio. Oh, never mind.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I feel like I often have to be like, in myself, I have to ask myself the questions, like, and because I do like to ask for others, but then I get confused. I'm like, well, is this their stuff or is this my stuff?
Yeah.
You know, so it's kind of hard. I have a harder time setting boundaries when I'm like reaching out to others.
It is. I had to get to a point where, for me, and like Christian will tell you, he just showed up here one day.
Yeah.
Literally just. So you just showed up here one day. It was so intriguing, and that's what I found is, in my perspective, the universe is constantly giving me everything I ask for.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
But I need to ensure that I am not grasping.
Yeah.
I'm a very graspy person. I can get this.
Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna do this.
I'm gonna push it, and I'm gonna go, and I'm gonna get this done. Yeah. I'm gonna start all the projects. And
the more that I have been in flow, for lack of better terminology, and allowing it to come to me in acceptance, the better those things have been, because then there's no dichotomy when I receive those answers.
Yeah.
But it's hard.
It is. It's not an easy thing to get.
Because you want to constantly trust yourself and believe in yourself.
Yeah. And sometimes maybe the ideas, I'm at this place where like, I have a lot of great ideas, and usually I'm like, yes, that's a go, but I just have to remind myself that I don't necessarily need to do all of the things right now.
Right.
It's like finding out, okay, what's going to be the best timing for those things.
Yes.
And I think us as humans, like, we want to plan exactly how it's going to go. I want this and this, but I think the magic is when you're like, okay, this is what I want. I'm going to step back. I'm going to take some quiet time, and I'm going to let the universe kind of work the magic to get it here.
So, okay, do you think that certain people are just that creative, or everyone is? Because this is something that I've been trying to ponder for a while, because I feel like you and I are extremely creative with the universe.
I think everybody has that.
Interesting.
You don't think so?
Where does it get lost? That's what I don't understand.
I think it gets lost in just what we were talking about, is that you push up against it so hard, right? Like, I mean, there's a lot of things I've tried doing in life where I pushed so hard and it doesn't happen because there's so much resistance, right? I mean, I think also think about our culture. Like, I think with the things we're talking about, when you get in flow state, you need to relax. You need to be in that rest and digest state.
Well done.
And most of us are not. I mean, that's what my book is about, about like the nervous system. And the book's called The Cortisol Cure. And it's using cortisol as kind of an analogy for stuff. But the message of the book is, you got to slow the fuck down. You need to relax more. You need to get into that relaxed state. And mine's mostly focused on the physical aspect of things, right? Like, in order to relax, that's when the body heals. But also with the stuff we're talking about, you have to relax in order to you know what I mean? Like, think about like
That's a great point.
Someone who is praying all the time, right? If you have a good relationship with a higher power and like all you ever do is ask, but you don't ever give yourself the downtime to listen. You might not even know that the universe or God or whatever you believe in is sending you answers because you're so busy not listening. Do you know what I mean? And I've been in that state before.
You're so right.
Like, where I'm like, I'm asking, and then I'm like, where the fuck is it? Sorry that I'm cursing like that. And then, but once I get quiet, I'm like, oh, there's the answer. It's like almost, I think we're too busy to let the thing come in.
Wow, you're right. And what if we're always in fight or flight, which does, right? They've proven that it turns off our prefrontal cortex, doesn't allow us to use higher thought process.
Your creativity.
So then we're constantly in that state of rigidness.
Yeah.
And then we can't
so the
actually
magic
create.
isn't going to happen. Because I really like, look at children. Like, every child has the ability to create and make believe and do all these things. And kids, they relax. They're not as so like tense up as adults are. And it's funny. You were just at this concert we were at last weekend. I hung out with the musicians a lot in this past week, and they're so intentional about creating space just to be, because they've learned as being a musician that you can't create if you don't have the downtime, right? I think sometimes true creatives struggle with the hustle because they really like being in that flow state.
Right.
And sometimes like it's hard for them to, get the things done. But I think people like you and I that are like, no, we are good, but we do have to make sure that we chill out to like let the magic happen.
How do you think we help people get to that space and understand that concept?
I mean, I feel like that's been my work for a long time. And I usually come at it from the more of the physical realm, because that's where I'm meeting people where they are, where they're stuck in physical symptom stuff. I mean, and I usually explain it to them through this analogy that my book's about, like that cortisol, which we think of as the hormone, as the stress hormone that's bad, it's really the hormone our body makes in response to stress to give you energy. So it's like your currency. So I think of it as you have this cortisol bank account. And when you rest and you do anything that's chill or in flow state, that's when you're gonna rebuild that account. When you do anything else, driving kids to school, emailing boss, like anything that that has you on, that's a spend. And so if you have enough cortisol in the bank account, cortisol is what gives you the energy to get things done. It's the thing that heals your physical body. It does a lot of good things for us, but if you don't have enough of it, because you're constantly in the go state, the body is in like a deficit. And usually what will happen is it will end up like the body will end up overproducing adrenaline, which makes you feel kind of like keyed up and like you've had 15 cups of coffee, and then you don't sleep, and then you don't even get any more rest. And then the next thing it will do is it'll start to steal from your sex hormones, because those hormones can be converted into cortisol. So for men, what we'll see is it'll steal testosterone. So if you're a man and you're in a chronic stress state, typically we see testosterone decline, because the body is shunting it all over to cortisol to keep you in your go mode. But then you get all the symptoms of lower testosterone. For women, it'll steal from progesterone mostly, and testosterone and estrogen. But so we start to see all these physical imbalances in the body, right? Because you haven't been resting, because you haven't been taking enough time out of that fight-flight state. I mean, I really think the majority of diseases like spurs from this, because one of cortisol's other jobs is it's your body's natural prednisone. It's your body's natural anti-inflammatory. So if you don't have enough of it, you're going to get unchecked inflammation. And everybody knows at this day and age that inflammation is the root of a lot of things.
Right.
But if you don't have enough cortisol, you're going to have inflation.
Interesting.
It's really interesting.
So it's actually good, but it's
Cortisol
framed as
is good.
so bad.
It's framed as so bad. And you know, if it can be bad if cortisol is really high for a prolonged period of time. It will cause blood sugar dysregulation, and that usually kicks up inflammation. But what always happens is, you know, when cortisol is too high, it's just a sign that your system is in a flight state. If you stay in that for too long, eventually the account is going to go. It's going to dip down. Your cortisol levels are going to tank, and when it tanks, that's when you're in like real trouble. I mean, think about like, it's like you're in a high spend state for a while, right? So if you're looking at a business and you're like, oh, the business is spending a lot of money, we're not really resting, we're okay for right now because we have these reserves, but eventually it's going to run out of money, right? And that's when like the real not so good happens. So it's bad in the sense that if you are spending it and the levels are high for a while, that means a crash is coming. But honestly, like I would say, let's say that I test, 10 people a day, I see, we're testing their cortisol. Maybe 1 person out of every 10 has high cortisol.
Interesting.
Most people have low cortisol that are coming to me that are having health issues, right? So it is interesting. Yeah, so it's kind of misframed. That's why I'm writing the book, because I want to make sure people really understand that at the end of the day, like the things that you do to kind of either bring cortisol up or bring them down are kind of the same. It's really just about spending more time in that relaxed state.
And have you seen where it's there's a time period in between where, okay, so like there's an issue, right? Or the cortisol is depleted. And then it's not like an immediate, it's like a few days. Isn't it weird?
Yeah.
Because I've been seeing that lately where it's, okay, let's say we do the good things.
Yeah.
Okay, we're doing the good things, take care of ourselves. We're doing yoga, we're meditating, we're stretching, we're going for walks.
The body goes down even more.
Yeah.
Well, it's almost like if your nervous system has been on for so long and then you finally get it to come down, the body's like, oh my gosh, like this feels really good. I would like, and so it almost like, and some people, if you've been in a high stress state for so long, when you come out of that, it doesn't feel good. Because you're used to that high. I mean, adrenaline and cortisol, when they're up, is kind of like a high. I mean, it's like a drug. It feels good. I mean, I'm definitely an adrenaline junkie. I've had to work really hard to make sure that and I feel like I've had times in my life, and I talk about it in the book, where I've completely burnt out, I've completely crashed. And I've had times in the recent couple of years where I'm pretty intentional about getting my rest time now, because I know what it's like to burn out, and it doesn't feel very good. But I find where, like, if I've been, like, let's say for a couple months, I've been kind of going, and then I get into a calm state, I'm like itching, like, oh, I feel like I need to be doing something. But I have this other analogy that I talk about is, let's pretend that you have 2 main muscles of your nervous system. You have your stress muscle, your go muscle, and then you have your relax muscle. Most of us work out our stress muscle all the time, so that muscle is really strong. And so if you have a really strong stress muscle and a weak relax muscle, any situation that arises that you have to do something, the stress muscle is going to activate. It's just like if you have weak abs and a strong back muscle. You go to do anything, the back's going to fire, and the abs don't do anything because they're not there. When you go to start working out that rest muscle,
well done.
It's not a strong muscle. It doesn't feel good. It's like taking a Pilates class when you don't have any ab muscles, right? It's gonna suck. It's gonna feel uncomfortable. You're gonna be like, get me out of this.
Oh, it's so true.
But over time, so for your people that are saying, hey, I've been doing all these things and I don't feel good.
Right.
It's because it feels foreign to them, because that muscle hasn't been worked.
Correct. It's a delayed response.
It's a delayed response too, just like exercise, right? You go to the gym, you work out a few times, and then you're like, God, this sucks. I'm sore. But if anyone who's exercised regularly and has gotten themselves into shape knows that if you keep doing it, the muscle gets stronger.
And that's interesting, because I think a delayed response is built into the human system for a reason.
Yes.
I think because we need that space in between to really appreciate the effort. Because I think things that we get automatically, we don't appreciate as much.
No, I think, you need the time to kind of to integrate it, right? Yeah. But yeah, that analogy has been landing well with people. They're like, oh, that makes sense as to why I don't feel good when I relax. I'm like, yeah, it's just an underused muscle. And you gotta, you can't just meditate twice and expect to reach nirvana. Like, you're gonna have to do it every day. Just like you can't go and do one solid core class and expect to have perfect abs. You gotta do it for 6 months, right? So it's the repetition and I think that's where, many of us, we want the quick thing. We want and that's mostly because we're so used to being in the fast-paced thing. We go, when's it coming now? But I feel like the patience, and just in my own life, that are like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to make sure I prioritize rest just as much as I prioritize exercise or diet or whatever else, and make that a priority. They're the ones that see the most profound shifts in their health. And it comes faster too. Then whatever you're taking supplement-wise, your diet, those other things are going to work so much better for you. And so that's just on the physical realm. I feel like when you relax more, stuff comes to you that you've been asking for, right? 100%. So in the realm that we're kind of talking about, like, you've been wanting a new car, wanting a new house, like the more you relax, that stuff's going to show up faster.
I think we need space, and the universe needs space to actually give us what we want. I always think about like, okay, what if we were a vessel, right? And there's a vessel where, okay, this percentage is Brett and this percentage is the universe. How can I create balance where the percentage of the universe can allow what I'm trying to create to come to me while still fully being me?
Yeah.
Do you think balance is a real thing?
I think of balance as like scales that are like going back and forth like this. I don't think you're ever going to be perfectly in balance. Right. It's always it's funny. Have you ever seen the movie Eat, Pray, Love, Julia Roberts? I just read Elizabeth Gilbert's new book, which is not a really topic for today. But anyways, I've been thinking about Eat, Pray, Love. There's a line in there where, she goes to India and she like achieves balance and health, and then she goes to Bali and she meets this man she loves, and her life gets out of balance, and she like breaks up with the guy because she's like, oh my God, I can't keep balance. And she sits down with the medicine man, and he's like, Liz, like part of living a balanced life is losing balance for love. Right. And so I always think about that when I have patients, because they'll ask me that, like, can I keep my life balanced? I had a woman in my office yesterday who, like, for a year she'd been doing so well, she'd been taking good care of herself, and she just fell in love, and she's so happy. But she was in my office crying because she's like, I haven't been taking my supplements but I'm like, that's okay. Fall in love. That's okay. Like, life is kind of about like, we try to achieve balance, but you're going to fall out of balance. That's normal.
I think so. And I think it's a very interesting, I don't have better words than give take. Like, being a human is living a human experience and like enjoying the human experience with the myriad of emotions. Yeah. And I think sometimes when people go to like, okay, I'm unwell and I want to be well, or I want to reach that next level, they think it's this stoic achievement. And I try to, help, especially with men. I'm like, you got to understand, part of being in this experience and actually living it fully is all of it.
Yeah. Well, because if your life was perfectly balanced all the time and everything was great, it would get boring.
I think so.
I get bored easily, and I know when I have like a couple months where I'm not traveling or whatever. I enjoy the balance and the kind of day-to-day, but I sometimes love going on like a weekend trip and then coming back and being like, okay, I'm gonna get back into it. Like, I kind of enjoy that, right? Yes. And then it's also like, it's important to have fun. I have conversations with people about this a lot where they're like, they come in and they're so strict with their diet and they have no fun and they don't do anything, and they're like, and they don't feel good. I actually have had a couple of men come in recently that are doing all the biohacking things. Like, I have this one guy, he wakes up at 4 a.m. He does a sauna, he does a cold plunge, he journals, he meditates, and he feels like crap. Like, he doesn't feel good, but he doesn't actually enjoy what he's doing, and he's not having any fun. He doesn't see any of his friends. Like, he there's just no enjoyment.
He puts in all the work, but then doesn't actually utilize the work in life.
Yeah, but also the things that he's doing, I'm like, do you like this sauna? He's like, no, I don't really like it. I'm like, then why are you doing it? He's like, well, I read that it was supposed to be good for him. I'm like, well, it is, but there's so many ways that you can achieve wellness, right? And I think, I really think wellness is obviously, yes, you want to do the things that are good, but you want to enjoy them. Correct. If you're not enjoying them, what's the point? I mean, yes, maybe you don't always enjoy eating broccoli, but like there are ways that you could enjoy eating healthy, right? Yes. And then you're actually going to stick to it, and it's going to feel better. And joy is honestly the antidote to stress. Like, it is, when you're in a joyful state, you cannot also be in the fight flight. It doesn't, it like, they can't coexist. You can be excited, but that's not quite the same thing as like true joy. Yep. So I don't know, and I've had seasons of life where, I've tried all the biohack things, and I'll go through phases where I love the sauna, and that's great. And then I kind of get like, I want to try something else. But I've had to learn to not beat myself up when I've like been really good about a regimen, and then I kind of fall off of it. I'm like, well, maybe this isn't for me anymore. I need to find something else. Yes. Right?
And you get to enjoy life. I really think like it's all good to do all the things, and if you love doing the things, fantastic. And I know a lot of people that do the things that don't love them. Yeah. But if you're not putting those into action in your life, and simple things, going for a walk, right, like holding the hand with your partner, doing small things where you're like, holy shit, life is really rad.
That's actually better for your wellness than again going and forcing yourself to get in the cold plunge for 3 minutes or whatever. Some people love cold plunge, and that's great. If that's your jam, that's what you should do. I feel like I was recently in a place where it was like a cold plunging place, a great place, but I was not in a space where I was loving cold plunge. And I got in for a quick minute and I got shamed so bad. Everyone was like, you didn't do 3 minutes. And I was like, yeah, because I don't feel like doing it today. I'm like, I'm going to sit in the sauna. And they were like, well, it's good for you. I'm like, it might be good for me, but I don't feel like doing that today.
They shamed you.
They shamed me, yeah.
What a weird thing.
I know.
At a place of health.
Yeah. But so I think that's where I think a lot of people do healthy things from like a shame, like I have to do this or I'm not a good human kind of thing. You know, and that's also, and that's what I'm working with these couple of guys that are like doing all these things. I'm like, hey, like it would be one thing if you were doing all these things and you felt great.
Correct.
If that was the case, you wouldn't be here.
Correct. And
right?
are you doing it because you love yourself?
Yeah.
Or are you doing it
that's
because you don't love yourself?
Yeah.
So on our second retreat, we had a couple guys that never did a cold plunge. And I was like, look, dude, all you do is try it.
Yeah.
If you don't like it, who the fuck cares?
Yeah.
Like, there's a hot tub right there.
Yeah.
I know it's snowing outside.
Yeah, try it, because sometimes you don't know actually if you're going to like something.
You don't know. And so one of my clients and the guy that joined us, he was in there for like 2 minutes, popped out. I'm like, bro, that was brilliant. Well done. He's like, oh, you know, I'm like, no, you did it. And then the next day, it was hilarious because him and his brother both came. And the record was 9 minutes or something.
Whoa.
That somebody sat in it, and it's literally snowing. We're on the side of the Chesapeake
9 minutes?
Bay.
That's a long.
It was so fun.
I bet it was.
And I told him, I said, hey, I'll join you today because you did such a great job. He's like, really? I'm like, yeah. And I'm like thinking, cool, 2-3 minutes. I've already done it. Like, it'll be straight. Like, he's like, Brett, how's the longest that anybody's gone? I was like, well, 9 minutes, man. It was a great job, but let's not worry about it. He's like, no problem. So we get in, and someone's timing us. And I'm like, hey, bro, how long would you like to go for? He's like, I think we'll do 10 minutes. And immediately I'm like, fuck.
What am I doing?
What was I
I'm in the cold
thinking?
plunge for 10 minutes.
But he didn't think he could do it at all.
Yeah.
There was no shaming or forcing.
Yeah.
He did it. And then after he did that for 10 minutes, he's like, I won't do that again, but I'm glad I did.
Yeah.
But I think it's definitely a very big issue right now when we're doing the things, and then if you don't do them perfectly, we're beating ourselves up.
Yeah. And that does more damage.
100%.
I mean, obviously to the psyche, but to the physical body too. Like, you know?
Because then it doesn't want to do that stuff.
It doesn't, yeah.
And then we're just forcing the system and then creating dichotomy.
Yeah. And that causes internal stress too. When you're beating yourself up, that is one of the biggest things that, you know, I talk in the book about, like, I put stress into kind of two buckets. We've got external stress, would be things going on outside your body, like work, you know, politics, kids, anything that's not happening inside your body. Internal stresses would be like food allergies, you know, any sort of chemical imbalances, nutrient deficiencies, an infection like Lyme disease, but also negative self-talk would be, so beating yourself up or, you know, shaming yourself, or causes a huge amount of stress. That and emotional suppression. So if you've got something in there that you're not letting out, it takes so much energy, cortisol in my book's language, to keep that in. So if you're grieving, but you show up to the world, and, you know, and I think any adult has been in a space where you're grieving something, and sometimes we can't, you know, be a blubbering mess like when we're out in the world at work or whatever. But if you are constantly holding that in, it comes at such a cost to the body, like to that account that I talked about, right?
Wow.
And so you just have to let it out. Letting it out is like, it's hard for the body to hold it in. It takes a huge amount. It's like holding in a volcano eruption, right? But yeah, so if you think about that, like,
so we're creating a internal chemical reaction that is so negative by holding in emotions and having negative self-talk. That's literally seen in the system.
Oh yeah. I mean, I've had patients come in where their, you know, their cortisol is acutely high, and, you know, and I'm always trying to look for the reason. Like, and we'll talk about their external stress or looking for other stressors in the system, and sometimes we don't find it. And then I'll be like, what else is going on? And they'll share that, you know, someone passed away like in the recent couple months, but they've been too busy like dealing. You know, it's a really common thing when a parent dies, right? If you're like in your 40s and your parent dies and you're managing their estate, you're still taking care of your kids, you still have to go to work, and you literally don't have the time to grieve, right? And so, and maybe you've cried a couple times, but, you know, losing your parent is a long grief process, right? But if you're like having to be on the go and you have all these external stressors to deal with, and you have the stress of keeping that in, it takes a huge toll on the system, right?
Wow.
Sometimes more than we think. I shared this story in the book as well. That was this spring, I was having these crazy tension headaches, and my neck muscles were super, super tight, and I couldn't really figure out, and I went to see PT, and they did dry needling, and I went to see chiro, and I did all the did all the things in my wheelhouse. I took supplements, I did all the things that I knew how to do. Nothing worked, like literally. And the PT was like, I don't understand. Like I'm digging in the, you go to dry needling and it kills, like, and it would get like mildly better, but I was just, these tension headaches were so bad. And I had a colleague, she's a phenomenal naturopathic doctor. Her name's Marissa Catapano, and she does this thing called a neo-emotional release. And I'd had this on the schedule, not thinking it had anything to do with my neck tension. And I did this session with her, and I cried for 2 hours. At the time, my ex-husband had just gotten remarried, and he was expecting a new baby with his new wife, and we're in like a great place, right? We co-parent well. I'm remarried and all these things, but something about him having a new baby with someone else was there was a huge emotional thing, but I didn't think that was okay. I was like, I kept telling myself, I'm like, I shouldn't be sad about this. And so I was holding it in, and not even really thinking anything of it, because I was also feeling fine. That session, I literally cried, and I was just grieving and grieving and grieving. Woke up the next day, neck pain gone, haven't had it since. And I was just like, well, that was a good reminder that sometimes, like when we're holding, I literally was carrying all of that in my neck.
Yeah, and you gave yourself permission. It's such an interesting thing that we don't give ourselves permission to feel, because societally, everything's supposed to be good. And I think that's one of the biggest things that hit me so hard is like, societally, before I injured my spine, it was like, oh man, you have a great job. You get to come and go as you please in that job. You have rental properties. You have a beautiful, loving wife, healthy children, a bunch of race cars. You're good.
Yeah.
What's wrong with you? Like, you shouldn't feel unworthy. You shouldn't feel like you can't trust yourself.
Yeah.
And until...
But you were shaming yourself for that, right?
Constantly.
Yeah.
And that's why I drank so much. That's why I would drink so much every single day.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't allow all of those voices in my head to keep running and running and running. And then finally, when I did injure my neck and it started to heal and I went for a run and it's raining. It's raining profusely. And I'm like, it's okay. Just keep running. I just started crying. And I cried for like 2 miles.
Wow.
But laughed.
In the rain. Wow.
Crying and laughing because I'm like,
time. So you were releasing.
Exactly. And I realized it. Wow, it's okay to feel unworthy.
Yeah.
But I am actually worthy.
Yeah, but sometimes you just have to let those let those feelings out, acknowledge that they're there, because the more you stuff them in, I like the other analogy I like to use is like an emotion, whatever it is, if it's not expressed or like looked at, it's like taking a piece of fruit and putting it in a drawer and leaving it there. Maybe you don't see it, but eventually that fruit's going to start to rot and your whole room is going to smell. And it's going to smell until you clean that freaking drawer out, right?
Yeah.
Like, even though you can't see it,
right.
and like it's tucked away, but and that's what it's doing in the physical body too.
It all looks good from the outside.
It all looks good from the outside, but the
drawer's
smell
shut.
is terrible, right? And that's what I think a lot of people are. And I think I was telling you earlier that sometimes someone sits down in my office and they kind of start to tell me what's going on, and I don't know what it is. I can usually like tell, oh, this is not physical, this is an emotional thing. But sometimes people aren't quite ready to hear that, and because none of us really want to admit that. Like, I didn't want to admit that this emotion that I had was causing my neck pain. I wanted to go fix it with dry needling, right? Because that seemed like the easier thing.
Yeah.
But it was amazing. I did the 1 2-hour cry session and it felt so great afterwards.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I think emotions are constantly trying to share with us who we are.
Yeah.
I think we get stuck on thinking emotions are who we are, instead of creating the understanding that, hey, this is data that's really trying to help us if we're open to using it.
Yeah. I feel like, I'm sure you listened to Abraham Hicks. The last couple of days I've been listening to that, and just a reminder of like, they're your guiding, like, if you're feeling X, Y, Z, it's just telling you that you're out of alignment or that you're in alignment, or so you use them as a guide. Correct. Not something to stuff away. I definitely struggle with that because I always like to be on and get things done, and sometimes emotions don't let you do that. So it's like a constant word. So I find, and I sometimes talk to patients, like sometimes you have to schedule the time. Like you need to, and this is where like working with a coach or a therapist is scheduled time where you can process that stuff. And if that's not for you, you need to make sure you put some time on your calendar. Maybe it's like, I have patients that are like, well, I have the time, but I know I'm sad, but I can't cry. It's almost like they're so good at keeping it in. I'm like, great, go watch a movie that makes you cry. You just need the release of some kind. And after you release, sometimes that'll eventually help you.
I think so.
You practice it too, right?
I think so. It's like that muscle like you talked about.
Yeah.
You're using that muscle over and over again. And then I found that when you do that with the sad emotions, you can actually do that with the happy emotions even more.
Oh, yeah. You can feel.
Right.
Yeah, because I think you said earlier, like that, we are here in a human experience, and part of being a human is feeling the depth of all the emotions. And if you're not able to like really touch base with sadness, shame, guilt, all those, it's like almost harder to feel the extreme of the happy emotions.
Yep.
And that's, I think, tricky. I think like a lot of people, when they're not feeling good, take antidepressants, which sometimes that is very much needed. I'm not saying don't take antidepressants, but they kind of numb you out a little bit, right? And I think they don't make you feel the high of the high. They also don't make you feel the low of the low, but you're kind of just in this zone.
Right.
And maybe sometimes that's what you need.
Right.
But I think to really feel the true expression of everything, sometimes this pharmaceutical can stop that feeling.
Numbs you. And I get it for a certain period of time. Maybe you need that. But I think after a while, going back to and starting to learn how to flex the muscle of emotions.
Yes.
I just think people get so stuck on, this is me, I'm angry.
But I think
you're experiencing it.
That's a really good like differentiation, is that you are not your emotions. Yeah. That's Marissa, the woman that I saw for the neo-emotional. She always says that emotions are energy in motion.
Brilliant.
It's something that's supposed to come in and come out of you. It's not your permanent state.
Yeah. That's really good.
And I think if you've identified with that, it just means you haven't fully like let it go, right? Is that how you would think of it?
And I think that people actually sometimes want to hold on to it.
Yeah.
It makes them feel
serving them in some way.
Makes them feel so much safer.
Yeah.
I'm angry.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, what made you angry? Well, 2 weeks ago. And I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah.
So 2 weeks ago? Like, yeah, well, 2 weeks ago, this and this. I'm like, okay, but man, that was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Like, do you want to, if you want to be angry, all good, but is that what you want your state to be?
Yeah.
Because the mind is literally just going to understand a certain reading from the body, put out chemicals. The body is then going to become that state. Then the mind's going to reread that state and go, oh, cool, this is what we are.
Yeah, exactly. And you're literally training your body to be in that state. And I think that's the thing that people need a reminder, is that our bodies we're kind of like highly intelligent dogs, but like we are trainable. And if you train your body to stay in a certain state, it's going to stay in that state until you train it to do something different.
Correct.
And so you can train your body to do whatever you want, and your mind and your emotions, but you have to do the work to train it, right?
Yep.
Just like you can train a dog to do tricks. It doesn't happen overnight. You have to like keep doing
There's
it.
that delay.
Yeah, there's
but it's
delay.
that flexing that muscle.
Yeah, it's a lot of cool stuff. The body is really cool, and I feel like when you start to really learn how to work with it and use it, it's amazing what it will do for you. Right?
Sometimes I'm still like mind boggled with some of the stuff
that you see. Oh, yeah, it's wild, right? So wild. On either end, either when people are getting better or they're not getting better, like it's pretty wild what happens. I was thinking about when you were talking about someone who's like identifying as angry. I think kind of going back to like the fight flight state, when you are constantly in that state, your immediate reaction is going to be fight, which could be an anger response. So sometimes if someone is constantly like riled up, like the other day I was in an intersection. I don't even know that I did anything, but some guy just drove past me and was like, cursing at me. Maybe I stopped too soon or something, and I was like, wow, what did I do? You clearly are really pissed off at me. Like what? But I think the state of the world right now, people have been so stuck in fight flight for so long, right? And if you go online and just people are so reactive, like their rest muscle is not there at all, which means their frontal cortex is not there at all. So there's no higher reasoning. So people are just reacting, and they're angry, and they're immediately going. They want to fight somebody, and I honestly think that's the reason why we're in the state that we're in, where it's just so divisive and everyone's fighting each other, because we can't really relax and we can't let our frontal cortexes take over to see someone else's side, hear someone else's perspective, and it's kind of tough.
It is tough because it's a state that I think the world is in, and that's why I try to constantly put out kindness, and it seems silly, like it does sometimes to me even seem silly, like.
But it makes a big difference.
I think it does. It's just if I can be nice to one person. I don't know. There's a guy that came and he was selling magazines, and he clearly had a rough go when he was younger. And I just sat there and talked to him for like 10 minutes about, hey man, how are you? What's going on? What are you trying to accomplish? Do you ever like think about doing it this way? And he was like, what? What are you doing? And I'm like,
I'm just being kind.
I'm just talking to you, bro. And we had to go. We were actually coming to your event.
Oh, good.
And so I walk in and Steph's like, I'm like, oh yeah, we gotta go. I'm sorry.
You're like, sorry, I've been spreading kindness. I've been spreading kindness.
We get into the car and somebody's like, hey, did mommy tell you what that guy said? And I'm like, no, love. She's like, he said, thank you so much for being a kind human being.
Oh.
And I was like, whoa.
Yeah, but think when you do that, when you show, think about any interaction. If you show up and you're ready to fight, you're going to activate someone else's fight flight. But if you show up and you're soft and kind, they're going to, it's kind of back to the mirror neuron stuff. They're going to be like, oh, I can be soft and kind and like have a conversation. But I just think the state of the world, we're not really there right now. But I think to your point, like any small act of kindness that you can do is going to have a ripple effect. because you probably changed that guy's day. He's going to now go be nice to the next person he sees.
Right.
You know?
And that's why, like, pull it all together. That's why when your mom said what she said, it got me so good.
Yeah.
I was like, this is exactly what we need in the world.
Yeah.
It's just seeing people, and I don't have the exact words, but seeing people where they are.
Yeah.
And just being kind to them.
Yeah. And that kind of is the top, like, ties back into everything we talked about. Meeting people where they are, listening, being there for them. Yeah, there's a lot of work to do, but thanks for doing the work that you do.
Yeah, thank you. So, new book comes out
next fall.
Yep. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
And I think you're gonna, or you did release like a short, like preview or something. Did I see that?
No, not yet. It'll go for pre-sale in the spring.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
And then where can people find you? I know on Instagram.
I have a big Instagram page. You can follow me there. You can go listen to my podcast called The Dr. Kinney Show if you want to listen to me talk about other topics. Brett will be on in a few weeks. And or you can go to my website. It's thekinneyclinic.com if you're interested in what we kind of do to help people in the physical space.
Awesome.
I mean, and the mindset stuff, but yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you so much.
Oh my gosh, thank you for having me.
This was so good.
Yeah, good stuff.
Thank you so much for joining us today. I'd love to hear your feedback and any insights that you had from this episode. Why not reach out to me on Instagram at Brett Rivero or send me an email at brett@brettriverocoaching.com. And if you're looking to master your mindset and reach your next level of success, schedule a clarity call. Go to brettriverocoaching.com and click Clarity Call now.